Malays urged to hold strong to true Islamic teachings. Government malls implementing on-board diagnostic equipment on buses. Good afternoon. You're watching News on 2 with me, Amin Carlos. Dr. Sri Muhammad Shafi Abdal, who was arrested by the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, to assist in the investigation into alleged embezzlement of rural development funds in Sabah, was released today after a 7-day remand. Now, the former Rural and Regional Development Minister was released on bail of 100,000 ringgit, with two sureties who were ordered to deposit 80,000 ringgit. Now, Dr. Sri Shafi the release was made by Magistrate Cindy McJews Balitus after hearing an application by the MACC, represented by Prosecuting Officer Falik Basiruddin. The party Warisan Sabah president, who was arrested by the MACC on October 19th, was remanded for 3 days to help in the investigation. On October 23rd, the remand order was extended 4 more days and extended today. The government has allocated 10 million ringgit to strengthen the Institute of Islamic Thought and Civilization, or ISLAMIC, for the purpose of creating a hub for learning, research, preservation and assessment of Islamic civilization and the Malay world. And Deputy Prime Minister, Dato' Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, who announced the fund during the ISLAMIC's launch yesterday, said the Malay world is an invaluable asset, with Malay being the lingua franca and spreading Islam in this region. He also urged Malay societies to hold strong to true Islamic teachings and not deviate from its path in facing the universal diversities where outside cultural could easily and quickly influence the local community's practices.
Bahasa Melayu dan tulisan Jawi ini jugalah yang menjadikan Melayu, dan Melayu adalah Melayu dan bukan Arab. Bukan Arab. Saya melihat perspektif ini antara ruang kajian yang boleh dijalankan oleh sarjana dan pakar yang berkhidmat di ISTEC ini. Saya percaya ruang lingkup dunia Melayu dan Islam sememangnya banyak persamaan.
ISLAMIC, which has been operating since last year at the International Islamic University Malaysia, IIUM campus in Kuala Lumpur, offers bachelor's to doctorate academic programs in the field of Islamic civilization and the Malay world. The government should look into implementing the National Tahfiz Education Policy, or DPTN, for Tahfiz schools nationwide, aimed at streamlining its Islamic studies curriculum to suit the current needs. And Deputy Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Dr. Ashraf Wajdi Dusuki, said teachers teaching Islamic religious education also need to get their teaching credentials from state religious authorities.
Pada masa ini tidak ada suatu kurikulum khusus yang digunakan pakai oleh sekolah tahfiz persendirian. Kebanyakan sekolah tahfiz menggunakan sukatan hafazan masing-masing dengan penambahan pengajian agama dengan menggunakan pelbagai kitab.
Dr. Ashraf Wajdi said this in reply to a question by Baling MP Dato' Sri Abdul Aziz Abdul Rahim. He also said that Tahfiz schools should be registered under the Islamic Religious Schools Enactment or laws under the state's power. It is in line with the federal constitution that Islamic affairs are under the jurisdiction of state religious authorities. The implementation of the driver's score to track the behavior of commercial vehicles, especially buses, is being studied particularly to avoid fatal road accidents. And Transport Minister Dato' Sri Liao Tiong Lai said it includes the installation of an on-board diagnostic or OBD device to collect data concerning the driver. In his response to a question from Mersing Member of Parliament, Dr. Abdul Latif Ahmad, Dato' Sri Liao said most fatal accidents are caused by the driver's negligence apart from breaking road safety rules.
Untuk kita mengetahui sikap pemandu-pemandu bas ini, so that we can track all the bus driver being record dengan lebih mudah lagi. This is kerana gadget sekarang lebih moden, lebih bertaraf tinggi, dan kita boleh memantau setiap pemandu bas dengan lebih berkesan.
A total of 7,152 deaths caused by road accidents were recorded last year. The proposal also includes making it mandatory for commercial vehicle operators to install onboard cameras to record the driver's behavior. An interview with RTM, Dr. Sri Liao announced that he has directed his ministry to formulate an end-of-life vehicles or ELV policy to overcome the problem of old vehicles.
Masih lagi boleh berjalan, tapi melulus pihak Puspakom, kita ada Puspakom cek tiap-tiap 6 bulan kepada semua bas-bas komersial. Is only safe on the road, tapi dari segi struktur dia, dari segi lain, ia tidak mematuhi Vehicle Type Approval United Nations yang telah kita luluskan sejak tahun 2008 lagi. Oleh itu, apabila kita memulakan dasar baru ini, ia end of life vehicle, maka saya yakin masalah bas yang berasap ni ataupun kenderaan yang uzur ni dapat kita keluarkan daripada atas jalan raya kita.
Dr. Sri Liao also said the ministry has implemented the Vehicle Type Approval VTA policy for all buses according to the United Nations regulations since 2008. The Defence Ministry will strengthen its Standard Operating Procedure, SOP, in monitoring its detention camps nationwide. Its Deputy Minister, Dr. Sri Mohammed Johari Baharum, said for this purpose, a monitoring committee will be established by increasing the number of officers. The matter was brought up following the issue of 3 Navy officers who were brought to court following the death of 2 other officers who were held in detention recently.
Kita akan berkukuhkan lagi dari segi pemantauan. Maknanya pegawai-pegawai yang diberi bertanggungjawab untuk menjaga pusat-pusat ini mesti mengadakan lawatan yang lebih kerap untuk melihat apa yang berlaku di sana, dan selain daripada itu ialah pematuhan tentang SOP.
Dr. Sri Mohammed Johari said this in reply to a question by Lenggong MP Dr. Samsul Anwar Nasara. He added that the Royal Malaysian Navy has established an investigation board following the death of 2 of its officers who were detained at the Sungai Wangi detention camp in Setiawan on September 29th. The case is currently under investigation. The Health Ministry this year tested over 300,000 people for tuberculosis or TB as an early detection of the disease and to avoid it from spreading. Its Minister, Dr. S. Subramaniam, said over 23,000 TB cases were reported each year. Thus, the public are advised to be more aware of its symptoms for early treatment.
TB satu, kita ada beri suntikan BCG, lepas itu ada buat suntikan balik masa lepas mereka sudah ada di sekolah. Kalau ada anak-anak yang ada batuk yang tak baik, nasihat kita biasanya kalau batuk 2 minggu tak selesa dengan ubat biasa, kena periksa untuk TB. Dan itu kalau semua orang buat macam perkara itu, banyak daripada kes-kes TB boleh dikesan, dan pihak doktor yang jaga mereka pun kena ambil langkah positif lah untuk mengesan kes-kes ini.
Dr. Sri Dr. S. Subramaniam said this when commenting on claims that 3 students from a secondary school in Subang Jaya were infected with TB. He added that the ministry has, however, yet to receive any information regarding the matter, and if true, they will receive immediate treatment. Communities in ASEAN countries should practice good governance and integrity in its effort to drive itself forward. Malaysian Institute of Integrity, IIM President and Chief Executive, Dr. Anis Yusal Yusof, said integrity and governance is the foundation to the ASEAN community vision based on 3 community pillars: political and security, economic, as well as socio-cultural.
Waktu keynote pagi tadi itu penting kerana dalam konteks yang dibentangkan oleh Tan Sri Surin P. Siwan itu menunjukkan bahawa dalam negara-negara ASEAN dengan kepelbagaian agama mempunyai persamaan dalam konteks nilai-nilai murni yang sejagat yang perlu kita hormati.
Dr. Anis Yusal said this after the closing ceremony of the ASEAN International Dialogue, AID 2017, by Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Dr. Paul Lo Sing Kwan. The main focus of AID 2017 is to embrace universal values such as religious values and behavioral, cultural values that are important in ensuring good governance practices. The forum brought together panels from the ASEAN region to discuss on the effectiveness of methods used by each country to improve governance. Terengganu police crippled a prostitution syndicate with the arrests of 3 local men aged between 19 and 38, together with an 18-year-old Vietnamese woman in a raid code named Opsnoda at a hotel in Kuala Terengganu. Now, numerous condoms, 380 ringgit in cash and a car were also seized during the raid held at 12:30 a.m. last Friday. And State CID Chief ACP Fazlisham Abdul Majid said the syndicate lured its customers via the smartphone application WeChat and were charged between 160 ringgit and 200 ringgit for each service. Preliminary investigation found that the syndicate had previously been hunted in 2 different locations, namely in Kedah and Kuala Lumpur, and would only operate at one location for a week or 2 weeks before switching to another location. Now, it is believed the Vietnamese woman is a victim of human trafficking and is currently under police protection to facilitate investigations. And meanwhile, the 3 other suspects are remanded for 6 days until October 29th. The case is currently being investigated under Section 12 of the Anti-Trafficking in Persons and Anti-Smugglings of the Migrants Act 2007. Online gambling activities in over 150 premises came to a grinding halt when Tenaga Nasional Berhad TNB cut their power supply. And the 4-day operation in Klang, Selangor, which began yesterday, will end next week. South Klang OCPD ACP Shamsul Amar Ramli said the operation to cut the electricity was conducted under Section 21A of the Common Gaming Houses Act to prevent the premises from being used for such illegal activities. For a start, 40 gambling centres will face electricity and water supply cuts. Also, notices will be pinned to the premises to take down unlicensed signboards. The operations will be conducted around Taman Sentosa, Parkland and Bandar Botanic.
Dan dalam masa yang sama, kita juga akan menjalankan ops warrant seperti mana di tempat-tempat lain yang mana kita akan dapatkan perintah mahkamah untuk kita potong mangga dan masuk ke dalam premis-premis yang kita telah kenal pasti menjalankan kegiatan judi haram secara online sebelum ini.
ACP Shamsul Amar was speaking to the media after TNB cut the power supply to such premises in Taman Sentosa, Klang. Well, strong winds and thunderstorm caused temporary disruption to traffic flow at the Ipoh Selatan Toll Plaza about 5:50 p.m. along the North-South Expressway near Ipoh Perak, while no casualties were reported. Now, the incident caused the structures of several makeshift toll booths to be blown off and scattered near the toll plaza. The Plus Berhad spokesman said 4 lanes on the northbound lane were closed to traffic following the incident. He said 2 lanes were reopened about 90 minutes later at about 7 p.m., adding that work to clear away the debris was still ongoing. Coming up next, Malaysia eyes more New Zealand investments. Malaysia Rating Corporation Berhad expects the 2018 budget to focus on maintaining the country's economic resilience by increasing its non-oil revenues and strengthening the country's fiscal position. Its chief economist, Nur Zahidi Alias, said the country is expected to reduce its fiscal deficit from 2.9 to 2.8% of its gross domestic product or GDP next year. According to Nur Zahidi, this reduction is driven by the stability of the world crude oil prices as well as stronger tax revenue.
Yang saya rasa yang penting adalah proses penurunan defisit ini berterusan. Jika ia terus menurun, ia adalah memang satu trend yang kita ingin lihat. Sebab dari segi mengimbangkan defisit ini, jika keadaan ekonomi tidak mengizinkan, penurunan defisit yang terlalu mendadak akan memberi hasil negatif kepada aktiviti-aktiviti ekonomi dan akan memberi impak kepada pasaran buruh dan juga perniagaan.
Nur Zahidi said the government will also take into account issues involving the people's interests, such as the cost of living, affordable housing and individual taxes.
Saya rasa penumpuan mungkin akan diberikan kepada M40 dan langkah seperti pelepasan cukai sementara yang diberi oleh kerajaan pada tahun-tahun yang lepas. Pada tahun 2015 mungkin akan diulang semula oleh kerajaan untuk membantu golongan pendapatan pertengahan M40.
The National Cooperative Movement of Malaysia, Berhad Angkasa, hopes the 2018 budget will give more emphasis to the cooperative sector and provides more funding for its development. Its president, Dato' Abdul Fattah Abdullah, said Angkasa had earlier presented several issues during a series of meetings with Prime Minister Dato' Sri Najib Tun Razak held in the middle of the year. The items include an increase in allocation to its revolving capital fund by 500 million ringgit a year, increase in the share investment limit, which provides tax exemption from 750,000 ringgit to 1.5 million ringgit, and a reduction of corporate tax rate to 21%.
Kalau pelepasan ataupun perkara yang dipohon ini dapat diluluskan, maka manfaatnya akan dinikmati oleh ahli-ahli koperasi. Jadi ini juga boleh membantu merancangkan lagi sumbangan dan peranan koperasi kepada pembangunan ekonomi negara.
Dato' Abdul Fattah said this after an event held in Pahang. He said should the government approve the application, it will benefit the cooperative members who have contributed in developing the country's economy. Malaysia is looking to attract more investments from New Zealand and expand its collaboration with the country in many areas, including information technology and tourism. International Trade and Industry Minister Dato' Sri Mustafa Mohamad said there were still potentials for trade to grow between both countries, especially in areas such as biotechnology and agri-technology.
Tahun ini perdagangan antara Malaysia dan New Zealand meningkat dengan ketara. About 50% increase, ya. Satu petanda yang baik untuk tahun ini. Yang pentingnya ini semua berlaku kerana kita ada hubungan diplomatik yang amat rapat dengan New Zealand.
Dato' Sri Mustafa said the trade value between Malaysia and New Zealand reached 5.25 billion ringgit from January to August 2017, which approached the total trade last year of 5.89 billion ringgit. He added that the relationship between the two countries have been growing smoothly since the signing of the Free Trade Agreement in 2010. He was met after officiating the Discover Aotearoa New Zealand Festival in Kuala Lumpur.